Hey, good morning, guys. It is Chris with Nichols Retirement Empire. I'm going to continue a series that I started the other day about how to stay in education until retirement, how to make it 30 years. And we're going to look at some things that, as you go into teaching, or if you're a new teacher, or if you've been teaching a few years, some things that are going to help you with your longevity, are going to help you across your career. And so the other day, I started the series and I talked about how that the number one thing that's going to help you over the 30 years is that you have to put other people ahead of yourself. You are they call you a public servant for a reason. You are a public servant. You're there to serve the public. So that was the first thing that I talked about, and how that your mentality needs to be focused on that and not so much on yourself and what it is that you want, because you're not going to get what you want as a teacher in education over a 30-year period. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about, and to me, it's hard to decide like what's number two. Well, what's the second thing that is the most important? But now, to me, this is an important one. You need, as you go into education, or if you're early on into education, you need to be willing to move. And the reason I say that is, and I've seen so many people make comments on my videos and bring this up, how that they went from one location to another and it was entirely different. Guys, every school is different. Every school district is different. The states are different. People think that education is the same everywhere, that it's public education and they're all doing the same thing. They're not. They are entirely different from place to place. And if you watch the news and you're not careful, you'll get it in your head that every public school is doing this or every public school is doing that. And they're not. They are a lot different. You may move in your district from one school to another and you love it there. The kids are different, the people are different, the teachers are different, the principal's different. You never know. And before you go into education and you lock in to this one school and you say, I'm going to stay there for 30 years, you may want to reconsider that. I was a coach early in my educational career. About half of my career I spent in coaching. And as a coach, I knew I was going to have to move around a lot. And I did move around a good bit. And I went from place to place. And it was all in Georgia, but I went to different schools. And then when I became an administrator in my district, they would move me from school to school. I was in a lot of different schools. And I can tell you from experience that it's entirely different working from one place to the other. So if you have gotten into education, or you get into education and you get into a school and you're like, man, this is horrible. I hate teaching. I don't like these kids. I don't like that principal. Try going to a different place. You may really be surprised. It may save your career. It may keep you in it 30 years. It's good to change places. Now, you don't want to go somewhere every year. If you're finding that I've been to 10 places in 10 years and they're all horrible, it may be you. It may be you may be the problem. All the 10 schools aren't bad. So try it out. See if you can go to a different place and get a better result. Before you throw away 10 years, and you're vested and you've qualified to be able to get that retirement and all that kind of stuff, and you got 20 years to go, before you just throw that out the window, try moving. Now, a lot of people go into situations and they don't want to move, and they don't, they can't move. This is where they live. This is where their property, that kind of stuff. I'm just throwing that out there, that as you go into this career, if possible, you need to kind of have it in your mind that, I may have to move from place to place before I'm satisfied with my job. So to me, that's a second thing. Be willing to move, because a lot of people are not. It never enters their mind that they may have to move from place to place, and you may have to. All right, so that's number two. The third thing that will help you make it 30 years is, I call this, you need to be middle of the road. Okay, middle of the road. You don't need to be a person that is extreme about anything, that has extreme views, or extreme. If you're a person that is extremely emotional or extremely, you need to be. You don't need to be so sold out one way or the other. That is setting yourself up for some issues. Like if you're a person, for example, and you're like, you know what, usually I do pretty good, but when I get mad, I get extremely angry. I'm a person that has extreme anger. Somewhere along the line, the kids are going to push your buttons. And if you're the kind of person that does kind of wacky things when you get mad, you're going to do that. That's going to happen to you. This may not be the field for you. If you know that you just have such a bad temper, and that's going to get you. If you're a person that's you're just so overwhelmingly positive and everything's coming up roses, and I just run around, sunshine and flowers everywhere, you may get bit with that. You can't be just an extreme person one way or the other. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be positive, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get mad. I'm just saying you need to kind of keep it in the center line, because you're going to be pushed to extremes. You're going to be pushed by the kids on certain days. You're going to be pushed to your limit with the administrators. You're going to be pushed, with the politics. You need to be able to stay in that center line. And it's the same thing with everything. I mean, with politics. I mean, if you're the kind of person that is extremely, like I'm totally, conservative, I'm totally liberal, you need to understand that things are not so black and white when it comes to education. You can't go into the classroom thinking, I'm going to change education over to where it's all about conservatism, or I'm going to go in there and I'm going to change education where it's completely liberal. You're going to be, things go one way or the other over time. Like a 30-year period that I taught, it swayed from one way to the other over that 30 years, and it'll sway back. That's just the way that it is. If you go back, if you're a history person like I am, you realize there's ebbs and flows to political, ideologies, and that's the way it is. And if you go in there and you think, I'm going to push this agenda, that's what I'm going into, that's what I'm going into education for, is to push this agenda. You may do okay with that for a while, and then 10 years down the road, you're getting fired for something, you just can't be an extreme person politically. And both parties, there's some things that are positive about education. And I say both parties, you can throw in whatever other party you want to. There are some things that are good for education, like, for example, that the Republicans want, and there's things that are good for education that Democrats want. And you can't just totally shut out one side and totally shut out the other side. You have to be a person that can sit in a room with a group of people and speak to their, sensibilities, and have some kind of understanding, that they're not, you can't demonize one group of people and expect to go in there and work and function with that very same group of people. I mean, if you, decide you're going to get a job, in rural Alabama, and you're going to go in there and you're the most liberal person that ever walked the face of the earth, and you're going to stand up for your beliefs and all that kind of stuff, you're just going to be fighting everybody all the time. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. If I go, if you go get a job in, urban Atlanta, and I'm the most conservative guy that ever walked the face of the earth, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to stand up for all of you. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to fail and fight the system and all that kind of stuff. Go to a different place. But you can spend your career trying to find the place that fits your beliefs and fits your extreme views or whatever. Or you can be kind of a middle of the road person and be able to go into any school and function and be able to go, into with any group of people and be able to communicate and get along with them and make sense, and be the kind of person that people you know, can work with. So you need to be a kind of a middle of the road. If that's the way you naturally are, then that's it's going to be a good fit for you. Um, Again, like I said, it's like a marriage, and you don't want to go into it and have some kind of predisposition and make it much more difficult than it already is. It's already a tough job, and you don't need to be the kind of person that makes it even tougher by your views and by the things that uh, by the things that you bring about of your own, causes. It's better, not to cause an issue that wasn't there, okay, because of your um, extremism of any type, no matter what it is, no matter what it's in. You don't need to be the kind of person that's going to go in and pick sides. And, if you're the kind of person and you like controversy and you like drama and you like, things like that, you'll find it. You can go into the teacher's lounge and yeah all day long. You can put yourself in a circumstance again where you're making waves, you're having issues, there's all this stuff going on. Again, stay middle of the road, mind your own business, do your job, don't look for trouble, for lack of a better way. Don't, you just need to be the kind of person that can go in and focus and stay in that middle of the road, stay in that center lane. And it's the same thing in a classroom. As a teacher, I wasn't going to get caught up. We weren't going to, I was very even keeled. We weren't going to go way over here and go way over there. The kids couldn't get me off subject. Whatever it is I was focused on, I stayed right in that lane, and that's what happened. I didn't let anything get me, as when I was younger, I'd get mad or I'd get, whatever. And the older I got, the less trouble I had with that. And so that's just one of the things as you go into it, keep that in mind. So far, we've had 3 things total. You need to put other people ahead of yourself. All right. You need to be willing to move, be willing to change and go other places and stuff. And number 3, you need to stay in that center lane. Okay. Stay right there in that center lane, and you're going to avoid so many problems that I've seen so many people fall victim to and run into and drive themselves crazy with, if you can be that kind of person. So those are 3 good things that'll help you make it 30 years. Thanks for watching, guys.